The anime begins on a deserted island in the middle of the ocean, where a person whose identity we don't yet know receives a message on their cell phone that seems more like an order. The message instructs them to kill all enemies of humanity and save 10 million lives. Later, we see this person observing a mansion from the forest. Inside the mansion, there is a boy named Nanao Nakajima who tells us that he left the city to move to this place 6 months ago. It turns out that this mansion is an academy for young people from all over the world with paranormal powers. However, he still doesn't fit in with this small society. We quickly understand that Nanao is teased by other students in the class because he doesn't have flashy paranormal powers. His classmates call him the normal. One of them is Munou, who forces Nanao to do his homework and calls himself the Flame Prince, due to his fire-based paranormal power. Later, a talented and handsome young man with ice powers arrives, and the girls in the class go crazy over him because of his blue hair. They call him His Majesty. He saves Nanao from a conflict. After this, the teacher starts the class, but not before introducing a new student, Onodera Kyouya. Kyouya introduces himself to the class without providing any additional information besides his name. This annoys Munou, who, when confronting Kyouya, feels intimidated by the new student and returns to his seat. Before the class can continue, a new transfer student arrives, named Nana Hiiragi, who confesses that her paranormal talent is the ability to read the minds of others. The new girl takes a seat next to Nanao, and a moment later, Munou arrives to ridicule the talentless boy. However, he ends up embarrassing himself because Nana exposes him in front of the whole class, revealing that he's only bothering Nanao to get close to Nana Hiiragi and ask her out. Despite the Flame Prince's attempts to deny it, everyone knows it's true because the new girl can read his mind. The class teacher now states that they need to choose a class representative. Munou and His Majesty both want to be the representative because they believe they are the most powerful in the class. Then Nana suggests that his new normal friend should also be a representative, although he doesn't seem convinced. Kyouya, who has clearly been plotting something since he entered the classroom, interrupts the class representative selection and proposes that the three of them should have a battle to determine who gets the title. That evening, Nanao leaves class and goes to a building on the island to eat something. Nana follows him and asks for a tour of the island to get to know it better, as she likes it. He agrees, although he can't help but hide his curiosity about this girl. After a while, they sit down to eat together and have a conversation in which they both realize that they received a red envelope as an invitation to the island. The young man also explains that the government subsidizes all the expenses of the academy so that they can train to destroy the enemies of humanity, although none of the students or teachers had encountered these enemies yet, and all the studies conducted were speculative. During the sunset, both characters approach a cliff, and while enjoying the beautiful scenery, they continue their conversation about the talented individuals. Suddenly, a gust of wind violently pushes Nana towards the void. The safety ropes in front of her manage to temporarily hold her, giving the young man just enough time to grab her and save her life. After this scene, they decide to return to the dormitory area as it seems they were not in a safe place. While they return, we see Kyouya reviewing the students' records, searching for who knows what. Late at night, after having a conversation in which Nana reads her friend's heart and finds admiration for his father, and after insisting that he should run for class representative, she knocks on Nanao's room door and hands him the watch he had forgotten in the cafeteria. This touches Nanao deeply. The next morning, we witness the battle between Kyouya, the ice talent, and Munou, the fire talent. The agreement was to have a fistfight, but the handsome young man uses his power to harm the overweight student, who becomes furious and retaliates with his fire powers. Kyouya wins the fight and becomes the class leader, but Munou loses control and summons a giant fireball, hurling it at his classmates. Everyone manages to dodge it, except for Nana, who gets caught in the attack. Heroically, Nanao leaps to her rescue, opens his arms, and concentrates his power, creating a giant force field that absorbs Munou's attack completely. Nanao has no choice but to confess that his special talent is neutralizing the talents of others. He had kept this secret to pass as a normal student. The whole class applauds Nanao and names him the new leader automatically. Before nightfall, we see the two protagonists chatting again on the cliff. Nanao takes the girl's hands and starts thinking that he can count on her from now on. But incredibly, she pushes him into the void. Nana's eyes turn a malicious red, and she explains that she knew from the beginning that he was hiding a specific and powerful power, which is why she approached him, motivated him to be a leader, and gained his trust. After this, she confesses that her true talent is not reading the minds of others. She had lied. Before Nanao falls into the void, she tells him that the true enemies of humanity are the inhabitants of that island. Now we have a brief historical clarification where the audience is informed that the first enemy of humanity that appeared on planet Earth was not a demon or an extraterrestrial, it was simply a human who had awakened paranormal talents. After destroying cities and taking hundreds of lives, children with paranormal talents began to appear all over the world. These children continued to wreak havoc, but they could be contained after several years of war and bloodshed. Subsequently, paranormal military forces were created. In the present day, nations had decided to acknowledge the existence of these talented children, but only if they were sent to one of the training academies existing in the world. Following the introduction, we have a flashback where Nana is standing in front of a tribunal of humans who assign her the task of infiltrating the island and destroying all the possessors of paranormal powers, as they were a real threat to humanity. During the morning training, we see Cory giving a lesson on paranormal powers to the rest of his classmates, and this apparently convinces Nana that this is the next boy she should deal with. Later, they both meet in the classroom, while Nana intelligently deduces that the ability the boy claims to have cannot completely freeze a person. On the other side of the room, Mogwo is about to punch a student who called the missing Nanao the leader. Suddenly, the chubby student gets punched and falls to the floor. Shibusawa Yohei makes his appearance, and everything suggests that this student can control time, and even though it's a rumor, it makes him appear as the most powerful in the class. While everyone watches the act of violence, Nana takes her mobile phone out and receives information about Shibusawa. He has caused over 800,000 deaths. Apparently, she must change her next target. During lunchtime, the time-controlling boy goes to the cafeteria to eat a bowl of rice, and Nana appears in front of him with a plan to understand his talent. To do this, she spills a glass of water on Shibusawa's clothes, but he manages to make the water not spill. This way, the girl understands that his true talent is to rewind time and not stop it, as it would be impossible for him to stop it, gather the liquid, and pour it back into the glass. While Nana was thinking about what stability could put her in jeopardy due to Nanao's disappearance, Kyouya appears on the scene, and after learning about Shibusawa's power, he asks him to turn back time to discover the whereabouts of the missing student. Nana is put in a difficult situation by the mysterious young man and his confusing questions, as it seems that he wants to blame her. To avoid an awkward moment and possible exposure, she invents that a strange and horrifying voice inside Kyouya scares her when she hears it. This doesn't seem to bother the white-haired boy at all, and he leaves the cafeteria. Later, Shibusawa returns in time to check if Nanao had returned to his dorm at night. Time travel leaves him with a negative answer to his question and a high level of fatigue, as using that talent caused him too much exhaustion. Shibusawa continues to go back in time a few more times until he reaches the moment when the missing student and the pink-haired girl are holding hands. This apparently satisfies the time traveler, as he understands that they are close, and he shouldn't continue spying on their intimacy. Nana breathes a sigh of relief, and after falsely thanking him for his help, each of them goes their separate ways. At night, Nana deceitfully leads Shibusawa to the lake where Cory had frozen the water in the morning during his talent demonstration. She then asks him to travel to the exact time of this event, lying that an enemy had devoured Nanao alive. The boy obeys and uses his power. Shibusawa couldn't swim, so when Nana asks him to rewind time, Shibusawa ends up underwater, agitated and fatigued from time travel and unable to swim. The lake freezes, ending the life of the young time traveler. During the afternoon, a fierce storm hits the island of the talented. However, this doesn't deter Kyouya, who, as if he knows something, heads to the place where Nanao had been pushed by Nana, the girl with pink hair who had infiltrated the island with plans to eliminate the talented, seen as enemies of humanity. On the other hand, at the academy, all the students wonder where Nanao and Shibusawa, the newly missing student, are. They also notice Kyouya's absence. Kyouya later appears in the classroom, unraveling one of Nana's riddles and putting her in check in front of everyone. Now, Nana believes it's best to get rid of him. She invites him to have a meal with her, but he declines. Later, she follows him around the courtyard, observing his actions, and the only thing she finds is that he gives milk to a kitten. Later, they cross paths in the school hallways, and surprisingly, he asks her if they can be friends and then invites her to his room. Once inside, Kyouya hands Nana a joystick and almost forces her to play a retro video game, one like Bomberman. Meanwhile, they have a conversation in which the girl calls him Boy F. This seems to confuse the host, who loses the video game and turns to ask her what that word meant. Nana provides the definition of the word, and Kyouya writes it down in an agenda, leaving Nana bewildered. Then, Kyouya tells her that he has a younger sister who had come to this island for training but was currently missing, just like the other students. He is worried that the academy is not looking for them. He also notices that they are not training but letting the students be. When it's time to say goodbye to the girl, Kyouya shows her Nanao's watch, which he had found while exploring the cliff. This frightens the girl a lot, but she remains composed and chooses to accompany the young man to a place he wanted to take her. After a while, they appear on the cliff, and Kyouya questions Nana about what she had done 2 days ago when she was transferred in search of clues. After this, and in a conversation in which he manages to psychologically unsettle the girl a lot, he tells her that apparently there is an enemy of humanity loose on the island, and not much is known about them since everything they have studied so far is based on rumors. So, the purpose of this meeting was to inform her of that, as a friend he had asked her to be. Nana thanks him but feels extremely worried because this, without a doubt, was her most powerful enemy on the island. Too intelligent and observant, he could bring her serious complications. That night, she goes to bed telling herself that the next day she will set a trap to eliminate Kyouya. The next day, both students have a meeting with their teacher. They present the broken watch of the first missing student as evidence and convince the authority that he has been attacked by an enemy of humanity. The teacher seems to suffer a nervous breakdown and gets up from the table, promising to take care of the matter, while also asking them not to spread the rumor to avoid causing panic among the other students. Now that the authorities have been alerted, Nana's plan continues. She confesses to her new friend that she is concerned about a little kitten that the missing Nanao used to feed. She then leaves, and Kyouya realizes that he hasn't fed it all day. Now our mysterious white-haired character heads to heat some milk for the cat. Upon entering the shed, he doesn't find the kitten but decides to turn on the kitchen stove to leave the milk warm for when the cat decides to return. As he turns the knob and attempts to light it, a massive explosion shatters the shed with Kyouya inside. Nana was observing the scene while hidden with the kitten in her arms. She had noticed the previous day in her friend's room that the garbage was double-bagged to avoid unpleasant odors. The young man had tomatoes labeled with papers indicating whether they were rotten or not, and she also noticed that the bathroom in his room was in excellent condition, as clean as if it had never been used. This made the girl realize that Kyouya lacked a sense of smell, and for this reason, she left the kitchen stove open, releasing gas so that when he tried to light it, it would explode. Apparently, she had succeeded, but not quite. It turns out that Kyouya manages to escape the explosion, and he finds that she was nearby when it happened. However, he doesn't suspect her and attributes this coincidence to her ability to read his mind. But what truly amazes Nana is the talent of this character who had just revealed himself for the first time. He was invincible. The next day, all the students are gathered in the classroom, blaming the invincible young man for causing a fire the previous night. Then, 2 girls enter with a love letter in hand, announcing that it belongs to Michiru. Michiru feels very embarrassed as her 2 friends read aloud that a boy from another class is inviting her on a date after class. Michiru redirects her attention to Nana's injured leg, which she had hurt from a stumble the day before. She approaches Nana and begins to lick it, effectively healing the injury. Her friends tell her that she must control the urge to heal people because using her talent significantly shortens her lifespan. After classes, the talented healer heads to the location where the boy had invited her by letter. However, she encounters Nana instead, who points out her friends hiding behind some bushes, laughing at her. They had written the letter just to annoy Michiru. Nana now comforts the girl and invites her to have lunch together, starting to build a nice relationship. At night, the infiltrator on the island decides to end Michiru's life, but upon leaving her room, she encounters Kyouya, who apparently had been monitoring her all day as he had done previously. Nana returns to her room and turns on her music equipment at a very high volume so that the boy cannot hear her when she escapes through the back window of her dormitory. This greatly intrigues Kyouya, prompting him to look out the window to see what the girl was doing with such loud music late at night. However, when he looks, she is no longer in her room. Suddenly, a scream of terror is heard from Michiru's room, and the boy rushes to the scene, assuming that Nana had attacked the other student and would finally be exposed. Upon arriving at Michiru's room, he finds a completely different scene from what he expected. Nana lies on the floor with a deep wound on her spine, bleeding and severely injured, but Michiru is already there, licking her to heal the wound. Nana lies that she had heard an enemy of humanity say he would kill Michiru, so she had gone to her room to defend her. However, the reality of it all is that she had stabbed herself and had hidden the dagger in her clothes. The next day in the classroom, Kyouya has a set of questions prepared for the pink-haired girl to answer. Despite many questions, there is no way to make her admit guilt, so he gives up. This is compounded by the rest of the classmates becoming nervous about the news of an enemy of humanity attacking. After the commotion, Nana is unanimously elected as the class leader. Kyouya doesn't object to it, but he notices a repaired seam on Nana's clothing, as if she had hidden something sharp. Later, while Kyouya ponders his theories while playing video games, Nana prepares poison in the forest intended for him. Upon returning to her dorm room, she is intercepted by Onodera, one of her classmates. He tells her that his paranormal power is to see the future and photograph it. Then he shows the girl a photo where she is seen strangling him with a rope and asks for explanations. So, they both head to the cafeteria, and even though the staff is asleep, they wake them up to prepare dinner while they discuss the matter. Onodera shows Nana a photo where she will end up with a plate of noodles over her face, and that's how she will definitively meet her end. This convinces the young man with unruly hair that the future cannot be changed, and he can see it. So, he is certain that she will eventually kill him. Furthermore, to further worry the protagonist, he shows her a photo where she is seen pushing Nanao off the cliff, and this is irrefutable evidence that she is responsible for the disappearances of the students. Onodera makes an indecent proposal to our protagonist, telling her that if she agrees to be his girlfriend, he won't show the photos to the rest of the class. Nana must accept the conditions to keep herself safe. Now they are in the boys' room, and Nana is giving him a back massage. Onodera falls into a deep sleep, and his fictitious girlfriend remains in the room while he sleeps. She notices a camera starting to take pictures. It turns out that the premonitions happen during Onodera's dreams. This is where the girl realizes that he can't see the future but must sleep to see the photos the next day to know what will happen, giving her an advantage over him. She then leaves with the camera under the moonlight but not before secretly taking a photo that seemed much more important than the rest. The next day, Onodera wakes up and finds that Nana had stolen one of the photos the camera had taken during his dreams. The reason was that he took 5 photos per night, and one was missing. He finds the missing photo, which shows Nana lifeless, and shows it to her. Onodera now proposes a deal. That night, he will be in the physical education storage room, and if she really didn't want to kill him, she wouldn't approach the place. Nana plans a strategy, which involves changing her boyfriend's watch so that he doesn't expect to be killed before the time indicated in the photo. Then she heads to her room to take a bath. At night, the boy enters the physical education room and is attacked by Nana, who tries to strangle him with a rope, hoping that Onodera won't be able to defend himself due to the element of surprise. However, the boy manages to free himself as he was expecting this attack. He explains that he is very attentive to time and had reset his watch after seeing her for the last time. Moreover, the premonition still shows his watch indicating 10 o'clock, and until that happens, he won't be inevitably killed by the time change that Nana had attempted. Now, Nana pierces one of the poisoned needles into Onodera's arm when he lunges at her with the intention of taking advantage of her. Onodera doesn't understand why he is dying while she isn't, as one of the photos showed the girl lifeless. The protagonist explains that she had taken that photo herself, a selfie. She had hidden it in her clothes, hoping that he would realize that one photo was missing. She had then deceived him into thinking that destiny showed her dead too, but that wasn't the reality. Onodera lies motionless on the floor, slowly losing his life. At that moment, Michiru and Kyouya enter the room. Nana cries and begs Michiru to please try to save him, but it's futile. Sadly, Onodera is gone. After this and following another series of tricky questions from Kyouya directed at Nana, she leaves the place unpunished since there is no way to blame her for the incident. Before going to her dorm, the protagonist decides to make a stop in the recently deceased boy's room to take the remaining photos that Kyouya had not yet seen. Once she manages to store them in her bag, she is surprised by her white-haired friend, who finds it strange that she didn't go straight to her dorm. However, she says she only happened to pass by to retrieve her belongings because she had spent the previous night there. Nana is now in her dorm and gathers the photos she had in her possession. Here she realizes that one is missing, and that's the one where she appears pushing the first murdered student since her arrival. She quickly heads to the physical education shed, where Michiru had that photo in her possession, which she had obtained from Onodera's body. Apparently, the latter knew he would die anyway and had stored the photo in his body for when Michiru tried to revive him. Michiru appears to be innocent, and even though she has evidence of what happened to Nanao right in front of her eyes, she hands it over to Nana and claims not to understand its meaning. The protagonist takes advantage of this to convince the little girl that Onodera couldn't really see the future, but the push in the photo should happen, which was impossible since Nanao Nakajima was no longer alive. After deceiving her, Nana is the one who keeps the photo and asks her to keep the secret as friends regarding the existence of that image. Later, a funeral is held to bid farewell to the young man. During this event, Kyouya suggests performing an autopsy on the deceased's body to reveal the true cause of death and dispel rumors of a pre-existing illness or murder by an enemy of humanity. Suddenly, a young student, probably the youngest, speaks up in front of everyone, opening the coffin and awakening Hitadera's soul. Shinji, the name of the talented one with the power of necromancy, explains that they will be able to speak with the spirit of the deceased to find out exactly how he departed from this world. All the students disapprove of using Hitadera's body since Nana pretends to be talking to the student's soul and communicates that it says he is suffering a lot and would prefer to be left alone. Shinji gives up on using his talent and takes a seat. At night, Shinji, self-proclaimed necromancer, is on a date with Yuka, a girl from his class. Kyouya and Nana appear, interrupting the couple. This annoys Shinji, who leaves the scene. Yuka tells them that when they were young, they attended the same class and were also neighbors. She also mentions that the boy has a bandaged hand because he hides a burn that he suffered in a fire when he was younger. Finally, Yuka says that she was called She-Hulk due to her strength, so that was her talent. Having been awake all night, the protagonist goes to the infirmary with Michiru, claiming not to feel well. She tells her friend to leave, and then she escapes through the window and runs to the necromancer's room. Upon arrival, she thrusts one of her poisoned needles into his neck, hoping that would be enough to kill him, and quickly returns to the infirmary. When she arrives, Kyouya is coincidentally looking for her, but she has the perfect excuse once again. On her way back to the infirmary, she hears a kitten crying from the sewer. Thanks to this, she diverts the attention of those looking for her and leads them to the scene of the incident to rescue the animal. Once this rescue is completed, the day passes without further events. At night, our murderous protagonist invades Sasaki Yuka's room, and as she is about to pierce her poisonous needle into the new victim's neck, she receives a blow to her back that leaves her lying on the floor. The one who had hit her was Shinji, and now Nana is utterly confused, but Yuka is there to confess what's happening. It turns out that the true necromancy talent was possessed by her, not Shinji. Her boyfriend was really dead and was a zombie, so the poisonous needle had no effect. Now she controlled Shinji's body and had captured Nana. After Yuka's story, in which she explains how Shinji died, Nana notices that the girl has marked personality problems, which might make her easy to manipulate. So when Yuka asks if she had murdered all the other missing students, Nana confesses that she did. This confession leaves Yuka disoriented, as she didn't expect to hear that so easily. However, before she can respond, Nana adds that she does let the dead rest. Nana pressures Yuka by telling her that she will tell everyone that her boyfriend, Shinji, is dead, and as the leader, they will believe her. So, she proposes a deal to Yuka. If she lets her go, she will tell her what Shinji feels inside because she can also hear the thoughts of the dead. Yuka falls for the trick and releases her. Immediately after, Nana escapes from the room, claiming that Shinji has told her to kill her. Now, Yuka goes out with her deceased boyfriend to look for Nana. While the protagonist escapes through the forest, she deduces that she must remove the collar from Shinji hanging around Yuka's neck, as she can only control the bodies of the dead if she has an object they touched in life. Suddenly, corpses of teachers and students who have died on that island start rising from the forest. They are also controlled by the necromancer. One of them possesses the talent of night vision, and thanks to that, he can easily locate Nana, who continues to flee. After a while, she hides in a small cabin and barricades herself inside, sealing all possible entrances. Yuka appears later, but as the sun is rising, she has to stop using the bodies. So, she leaves the area, leaving Nana locked inside, planning to come for her at night. When the sun sets, Yuka and her zombies return. Upon opening the door, they don't find the protagonist inside. They conduct an intense search throughout the forest all night but don't get favorable results. The necromancer was about to enter her dormitory when she is ambushed by the protagonist, who pins her to the ground and takes a bag with the number 98 from her back pocket. As we all know, she is very observant and noticed that the previous night when she tried to remove Shinji's collar, which supposedly controlled his body, she had not protected the collar itself but rather her back pocket. That's how she understood that the important item was there. Now Nana takes control of the situation and forces her to accompany her to the cliff along with her lifeless boyfriend. Once at the location, she presents her theories and evidence, exposing Yuka as a manipulator, liar, and murderer. In the end, Yuka killed Shinji in revenge for seeing him with another woman. While Yuka cries and laments what happened, Nana's poisoned needle takes care of another talented individual. After the new death, Nana returns to the academy, but on the way, she encounters Habu. She tells her that she is hunting venomous animals like vipers to eat them and use their poison as bodily fluid. Nana deceives Habu by distracting her, and when she has the chance, she pierces her neck with her needle. When Habu falls to the ground and begins to faint, Nana negotiates with her, requesting the password for her phone in exchange for the antidote. So, Habu gives her the password, but Nana doesn't actually have any antidote, so she leaves her on the ground, agonizing. Then, she takes possession of her cell phone and decides to go after Habu's friend, the one with the teleportation talent. She sets a trap in her room for her. Later, when she crosses paths with Kyouya, she confesses that Yuka is dead because of her, and she suggests they meet up with Moguo, Seiya, and Michiru to go to the cliff together and show them Shinji's decomposed body. Nana asks Moguo to incinerate Shinji's body due to the smell it's emitting and because they won't have a place to store it for an autopsy. Moguo obeys with Kyouya's approval, who says that he will have to be more vigilant regarding the girl with pink hair since she is always near the crime scene but still lacks firm evidence to accuse her. Moguo not only disposes of Shinji's body but also of the others that Yuka used to chase Nana and were spread throughout the forest. After this, everyone returns to the academy, and Kyouya questions the group about where Nana was before and after each of the deaths, trying to paint her as a possible culprit. Suddenly, a scream is heard in the distance. It was one of the students who found the lifeless and deceased teleportation talent girl on the ground. Kyouya takes it upon himself to investigate this death and first tests a liquid that was on the deceased girl's desk. It was poison, but since he cannot die, he recovers shortly after. So now he interprets that when the girl tried to put on her contact lens, it was poisoned. Kyouya now blames Nana for poisoning Kaori's contact lenses since she hadn't attended classes that morning and could have had the time to carry out this scheme. Upon leaving the room, Nana cunningly asks Michiru about Habu's talent. When Michiru mentions that her power is transforming her saliva into poison, Kyouya instantly accuses her and suggests capturing her. When they can't find her anywhere, they gather again in Kaori's crime room, and here Kyouya once again asks twisted questions to Nana. But this time, Michiru appears again to save Nana. She possesses Habu's cell phone and shows the conversation where they had argued with Kaori about her contact lenses. Kyouya interrupts Michiru, disregarding what she had to say. Taking advantage of the fact that the room had filled up again due to the presence of the other talented students, he accuses Nana again and then provides his explanations. What this clever character practically says is the entire truth of what has happened, exactly what Nana has done to end the lives of Habu and Kaori. Since they incinerated the bodies of the zombies among whom Habu's body likely mixed, and Nana had sent an apology message from Habu's phone to Kaori, so she wouldn't suspect her when putting on her contact lenses. Now that everyone's attention was on him and Nana, he starts checking her, accusing her that she still has the cell phone of the poison talent girl. Kyouya searches all of Nana's pockets but doesn't manage to find the cell phone. It turns out Nana had disposed of the phone by leaving it in the hand of a zombie, hoping that as it melted, its finger would press the send button when she was near the group to avoid arousing suspicion. If she kept it with her, there was too much risk since Kyouya had his eye on her. Michiru now demands that Kyouya apologizes to Nana because she is innocent until proven otherwise, but the boy maintains his serious demeanor but offers a somewhat apologetic tone. At night, Nana sits on the ground beside the academy's entrance, contemplating how to continue her killing spree. Michiru arrives to propose a shift change so that Nana can rest. Before Nana can get up and head inside the building, the sweet and timid Michiru has a box cutter at her throat, threatening to take her life. Michiru provokes her by saying that if her talent were to read the thoughts of others, she should know what her real intentions were when approaching her. Nana defends herself and threatens to tell the rest of the group what she had just done, but Michiru says that no one would suspect her, the sweetest and most innocent of the academy. Afterward, a couple of girls appear, asking if everything is okay or if there is a problem, and both prefer to say that there are no issues. The next day, Michiru appears with a gift for her leader, Nana, but she hesitates to open it since if it's not what she expected, the girl will probably say she didn't read her thoughts. So she claims fatigue as an excuse for not being able to guess what's inside the package. Michiru doesn't give up and tells her that she will ask her again during lunch and also when they leave school. At some point, Nana will run out of excuses, and she will expose her in front of everyone else. During the evening, Nana proposes to Michiru that they meet at the cliff to continue the conversation they had the previous night. Once there, the protagonist tells her that she had already figured out that the real Michiru was not her, as otherwise, she would have healed her hand with her healing talent, for example. Then, a new talented individual reveals himself. His name is Tachibara Jin. He introduces himself as someone older than the current students and says that his name has been erased from all academy lists, so practically no one knows he exists. To Nana's surprise, He proposes a deal and also tells her that Michiru is fine. She had just put sedatives in her drink. Together, they walk along the beach until they reach a kind of cave where this person has a bunker with some coffee but scarce food. Jin tells Nana that he already knows everything about her, that she is a serial killer, and he has many cards to expose her, but that is not his goal. Jin jokes that he buried all her friends, and Yuka raised them from their graves, so he is in favor of death, too. Then he tells her that he has been watching her at night, transforming into a bird, and asks her to tell Kyouya that he is tired of the warm vending machine milk. This surprises Nana because it means that Jin was the kitten that Kyouya had been feeding in the shed and the same cat they rescued from the sewer. Meanwhile, in his room, Kyouya is conducting a poison study to have a new chance to discover Nana. Perhaps she had used a poison that Habu couldn't generate. Back in the cave, Jin says he doesn't consider himself a talented individual but rather gifted. He feels superior to the rest. Now Jin Tachibara tells her the true story of the enemies of humanity and the talented individuals. In summary, talented individuals began to fight among themselves to prove who was the strongest, thus causing two factions to arise and start a war for power. Jin stayed on the sidelines while the government plotted to make the talented individuals destroy each other. Later, more talented individuals kept arriving on the island to live in it, and they were told another truth, that the enemy of humanity was a demonic-looking being that could take different forms. Jin says he returned to the island, leaving behind his grandmother, his only living relative, because there were people who wanted him dead. But at the same time, he couldn't turn his back on this situation. Now Jin and the protagonist are about to make a deal, but before they can, Nana sees him fall to the ground, spitting out his drink. It turns out that Nana had poisoned him. While Jin is sprawled on the ground, he tells Nana that he is the sole survivor of the war from 5 years ago and that she should report his death to the conspiracy theorists. Nana obeys and takes out her communication device, but when she tries to use it, a hand behind her takes it away. When she turns around, she sees Kyouya, who apparently had been watching the entire scene. Michiru also appears among the others, making it clear that she was also a witness to what happened. Lastly, Seiyu with the ice talent freezes the ground under Nana's feet, leaving her with nowhere to escape. Finally, Nana had been caught by the talented individuals, and they were all revealing her secret and her mission on the island. Finally, Jin gets up, laughing at the protagonist's perplexity, and explains that his talent is to copy the talents of others, and by copying Kyouya's talent, the poison hadn't managed to kill him. Poor Nana is in real trouble, and she admits that the true enemy of humanity was right in front of her, and it was Jin Tachibara. Now Nana understands everything. The rest of her classmates had never been in that cave. It had always been Jin alone, taking the form of each of them. Now that Nana lies on the ground, scared by what happened, he takes advantage and takes her cell phone to check who she was thinking of, informing that she had killed the only survivor of the battle that had erupted so many years ago. Nana manages to free herself and runs along the beach, leaving her device in the hands of her enemy, but saving her life is more important to her. Jin transforms into Mogwo and exits the cave while holding a large fireball. Once it's big enough, he throws it, causing a devastating explosion, and when it reaches Nana, it leaves her unable to move face down on the sand. Now that Jin completely controls the situation, he asks the protagonist about her family. Nana doesn't seem to want to talk, but the boy tells her he will set her free for that night if she tells him. Nana says she had an older brother she never met because he left home when she was very young. As for her parents, her father worked in a department related to the talented individuals, and her mother was a preschool teacher. Both were killed by a monster, an enemy of humanity. Jin gives advice while Nana falls asleep. She should be careful with all the talented individuals because if they go out of control, she wouldn't be the only murderer on the island. In the morning, Nana wakes up in Michiru's room, who is glad to see her awake. Then they have a conversation in which Nana confesses that her parents were killed years ago by the enemies of humanity. This makes Michiru feel guilty for making her remember, and she cries, although the protagonist doesn't seem too concerned. Later, they attend the funeral of the last 3 deceased characters, and Nana notices that Michiru is agitated and short of breath. This is probably related to her repeated use of her friend's powers, as healing the others shortened her own life. After this, night falls, and Jin visits Nana in her room to return her phone. At that moment, Michiru opens the door and enters the room, saying that she feels uncomfortable about all the recent deaths. Jin transforms into a cat to hide from the visitor. Now Nana tells the story of why she feels guilty about her parents' death. It turns out that one night, she stayed up playing chess until well past midnight, and when her parents managed to fall asleep, she escaped through her bedroom window to the store where she would buy her favorite manga. She later returned home and read it until she fell asleep. Unfortunately, that night, she forgot to close the window and put the safety latch on. Later, the thief and imminent murderer entered her home through the opening and killed her parents. The next morning when the girl woke up, she found the 2 bodies in the kitchen. That's why she feels guilty about her parents' death. She blames herself for not closing the window that night. After a moment of silence and a supportive caress from Michiru, Kyouya enters Nana's room and asks both of them to accompany him. He leads them to the room of one of the other talented individuals. Upon arriving at their destination, they find the worst, the body of a student, a new crime scene. This meant that our protagonist was not the only killer in the group. Ishii Ryuji was the victim. His throat had been slit, and he was stabbed in the back. Kyouya begins to form hypotheses about what happened and starts by blaming Moguo since his room is next to Ishii's. This theory loses weight when his 3 friends defend him, stating that he had been with them, engaged in a motivational conversation for 5 hours. Moguo says he didn't hear any noise through the walls, and his 3 friends confirm the same. However, this doesn't convince Kyouya, who now suggests that the 4 students might have an alibi to protect each other. Kyouya then asks about each student's talent to rule out any relation to the murder. One of the students can perfectly imitate other people's voices, a talent unfortunately quite useless compared to the others. The other student can perform astral travel. At this moment, he panics and astral travels to the bathroom as he feels unwell. However, he cannot take any action as his physical body must be present, not just his soul. The 3rd student present during Moguo's speech had powers related to magnetism. He could turn his body into a giant magnet. Now Kyouya explains to those present that the act had occurred after the funeral the previous night, and the first one to find Ishii's body was his girlfriend, Serrano Fuko. Serrano introduces herself to everyone, apologizing for not joining the conversation earlier, and informs them that they have been a couple for many years. Kyouya requests her to demonstrate her talent to eliminate her as a suspect. Serrano Fuko says she can't do it in the room. She needs physical space and warns that she can unintentionally harm someone since she can control the atmosphere around her. The group of talented individuals goes outside, and in the open field, Kyouya, who is leading the investigation, asks Serrano to attack him. The girl attacks with a gust of wind that cuts Kyouya's chest and sends him flying. This surprises the boy because she had said that she could accidentally harm them, but apparently, she has exceptional accuracy. Serrano explains that if the room is not well ventilated, she cannot control the surrounding wind satisfactorily. But this seems to be an excuse since the boy and the protagonist notice at the same time that Ishii's room window was wide open when they found the body. The investigation is interrupted by the academy's professor, who arrives on the scene, announcing that the authorities are on the phone waiting to speak with Kyouya, who has been designated to brief them on the current situation. Nana smiles quietly, thinking that she was just wasting her time with this action. Later, Nana has a conversation with Michiru in which they discuss her future. She wants to study medicine and invites the protagonist to move to her city after they finish dealing with the enemies of humanity, as her parents would welcome her warmly. This upsets Nana, and she leaves the room in anger. At night, the professor arrives at the protagonist's room and delivers a new uniform that Michiru sent her. Now, Nana is concerned about the vial of poison she had kept in her previous uniform, which she had tried to use to kill Jin. She assumes that her healing talented friend has found it among her clothes and fears she might give it to Kyouya. Coincidentally, Kyouya appears on the scene and asks Nana to accompany him to Serrano's room. Before leaving together, the professor informs them that the authorities will arrive on the island thanks to Kyouya's phone conversation with them. In Serrano's room, Kyouya says he mistrusts her because her answers don't add up. Serrano says she didn't know much about Ishii, even though they were supposedly dating. Nana offers her support to Serrano, tearfully asking her to help avenge her boyfriend and confront the enemy of humanity. Then they leave the room, and Kyouya exposes his hypothesis to the protagonist, fitting each puzzle piece together and once again suggesting that Serrano is the culprit. Nana is surprised by his ability to unravel the mystery so easily. After the conversation, Nana decides to pay Michiru a visit. Upon arriving in her room, Michiru seems to be in the shower, so Nana takes the opportunity to thoroughly search the room for the poison. However, she becomes distracted by Michiru's diary. In it, she can read that day after day, Michiru writes about her experiences in the academy alongside Nana. Apparently, the young girl holds an incredible admiration for her, even though they don't know each other that well. But undoubtedly, Michiru wants to be her friend and genuinely appreciates her. Jin appears suddenly behind Nana with the vial of poison in his hand and tells her that Michiru is entirely innocent. She hadn't taken the poison vial from her. Jin then finally returns Nana's cell phone and the small vial of poison. Jin leaves the room and warns Nana that he will leave her alone for a few days. Before leaving, he asks her to take good care of Michiru and not betray the trust she has in her. But at the same time, he ironically asks if she doesn't think she has spent too much time in the shower. Nana's eyes widen in concern, and she rushes to the bathroom to find Michiru. Michiru is unconscious in the bathtub. Nana pulls Michiru out of the bath and places her on the bed while she breathes heavily and appears to be dehydrated. Nana just wants to wait for her to wake up to ask what happened. Until that happens, Nana goes to the teacher's lounge to seek help from the doctor who should be there, as indicated in the pamphlet when she enrolled in the academy. Upon arriving in the teacher's lounge, she only sees one of them, the one who has always taught her and the only one we know. He explains that the rest of the teachers left the island and confesses with his body language that they left when the wave of murders began. Now Nana heads to Kyouya's room, but he cannot help either as he is busy examining Ishii's body. So, she merely asks him for medicine for Michiru's fever and, upon receiving it, proceeds to her next destination. Now she arrives at the cafeteria, where she is supposed to take nutritious food, but she cannot find anyone who can help her. She takes a stone and breaks the glass to enter, not without cutting her finger accidentally. Once she has everything she needs, or at least what she thinks she needs, she returns to Michiru. At that moment, Kyouya appears to help and suggests that it's best to take her to the hospital. A day passes, and the following night, Nana is still on guard. She's glad that Michiru's fever has decreased somewhat, but deep down, she wonders why she's glad. Clearly, the protagonist has become attached to this girl and is forgetting her main mission. Serrano enters the room and tries to convince Nana to go and rest, saying that she would watch over her for a while. The protagonist firmly refuses and begins to suspect Serrano. The sun rises once more, and Michiru finally opens her eyes. She explains to Nana that the last thing she remembers is healing a kitten. Then she left the room and, upon re-entering, found 2 cats, one of which had its neck sliced, but she still managed to heal it. Afterward, she felt very cold and got into the shower but ended up passing out. Michiru now notices the cut on the protagonist's finger and tries to lick it with the intention of healing it. Nana becomes very angry with her because she doesn't want Michiru to continue shortening her life by using her talent. The protagonist sends Michiru to wash her hair, which is in terrible condition. Michiru responds that hers is also messy, and they playfully laugh as if they were great friends. Meanwhile, in the forest, a rabbit with its neck cut bleeds on the ground and is found by Jin, who is very angry with the shadow that had just committed this act. Jin could not tolerate animal cruelty at all, and it infuriates him. However, he doesn't muster the courage to capture and attack that shadow. After the killer escapes, he thinks a bit about Nana and says that he didn't find any suspicious information on her cell phone. The only thing that had caught his attention was a count of potential deaths assigned to each member of the Talented Academy. Jin assures that these are fictitious numbers to deceive the girl and make her kill all the island's inhabitants. But now the real question is who had tricked the protagonist. Further away, in the human jury where Nana had been assigned a mission, a human says that he received a distress call from the island and asks Tsuruoka if he plans to go there personally to inspect. Tsuruoka responds that he will definitely go since he trained Nana and she's like family to him. Returning to Michiru's room, you can find them both drinking soup. After that, they play a board game, and Michiru asks who Hitomi is, the name she read in Michiru's diary. Her friend tells her the story. 3 years ago, a boy in their class scraped his leg, and she used her talent to heal it. This action was condemned by her classmates, who called her disgusting and wished she would go to war and leave the class. One day, with her talent, she heals the leg of a wounded puppy, which happened to be Hitomi's pet. She then adopts it as her best friend and defends it from the bullying it experiences at school. Hitomi asks her if she can heal illnesses, but Michiru unfortunately confesses that she can only heal wounds. Later, she learns that her new friend has a terminal illness that will take her away soon. Michiru cries because she can't do anything to save her. Before leaving, Hitomi instills in Michiru a desire to help people in need. That's why Michiru now heals wounds everywhere, regardless of the cost to her health. Once the story is finished, Nana gets up and leaves the room. Later in the corridor, she looks at her cell phone and the number of deaths related to Michiru. After this, she bursts into tears, realizing that she might be deceived. That same night, before going to sleep, Michiru bursts into the protagonist's room with her version of her parents' death. Michiru explains that she is not the culprit, providing certain reasons. However, Nana still blames herself, although she expresses her gratitude for Michiru's support with a strong hug. In recent days, Michiru had been trying to piece together a puzzle to prove the girl's innocence. The next day, the supply ship arrives on the island, and Nana thinks about giving her friend a gift. Kyouya then appears, telling her that he needs her help to get closer to the killer. But they will resolve this later since Kyouya has not yet established the motive that drives the killer to do what they do. When the supply fair ends, Nana and Michiru head towards the dormitories. On the way, they exchange the gifts they had bought for each other. At night, Nana receives a visit from the mysterious Jin, who warns her that during his night patrol, he saw Michiru heading to the isolated cabin on the beach. Nana jumps out of her bed and rushes to the place, fearing for her friend's life. Before leaving, she considers notifying Kyouya. Meanwhile, on the beach, Michiru is attacked by the invisible killer who slices her face and declares how splendid it is to attack someone as pure and perfect as her. Nana, en route to rescuing her friend, receives a phone call from Tsuruoka, who asks for an update on her assigned mission. Nana claims that she is hunting enemies of humanity at that moment, and the voice on the other end informs her that all the salary she has earned so far has been transferred to bank accounts to help the children who have lost their parents. On the beach, Michiru is fleeing from the invisible killer. After running for a while, she reaches a deserted cabin. Before she can enter it, the killer says it's time for her to die and throws a dagger at her chest. Fortunately for her, what she hoped for happens, but not in the way she expected. Nana arrives to save her life, but in exchange for her own, as the dagger becomes lodged between the protagonist's shoulder blades as she shields her friend. Now Nana discovers who the killer is. Her analysis reveals that it's Surumagawa Rentaro, the boy with astral projection abilities. The explanation is that while listening to Moguo's 5-hour speech, he performed an astral projection to open Ishii's window and slit his throat. Now the killer takes the form of the aforementioned boy but in a ghostly form, as it is his soul. Surumagawa asks the protagonist to get out of his way because his intention is to kill Michiru, who has a pure soul, and not her, who has a dark soul. Nana tells her friend that she will distract him, and Michiru should escape. The ghost stabs the protagonist in the back once again and, after taunting her, stabs her arm. Nana grips the dagger with all her strength to immobilize the spirit, which cannot disappear and chase Michiru until it regains control of the object it's controlling. Michiru cries and doesn't want to leave the scene, leaving her friend alone. So, Nana chooses to insult her and tell her that they were never really friends, that she never valued her and only manipulated her all this time. Michiru runs away in tears, unable to believe what she just heard. Now Surumagawa's ghost becomes impatient as its prey has escaped. When it's about to deliver the final blow to the protagonist, Kyouya locates his physical body and captures him, rendering him unconscious. Now Nana feels very cold and understands that her time has come. She thinks of her parents and believes they are waiting for her in the afterlife. She regrets deviating from her mission and becoming friends with a talented person, but she accepts her fate since, after all the murders she had committed, death was what she deserved. As she was closing her eyes to leave this world, she manages to see her friend Michiru, who places her palms on her chest and uses all her talent's power to save her life. Nana pleads with Michiru to let her go since she is not a good person, and using her talent could cost her life. This seems not to matter to Michiru, who uses her maximum power to create an intense light that illuminates almost the entire island. Moments later, Nana is by the seashore, gazing at the night and its stars. She turns to the cabin and sees her friend Michiru, who is sitting with her back against one of the building's walls, clearly and sadly lifeless. Nana approaches her and shakes her gently, perhaps with a glimmer of hope that her friend will open her eyes and they will smile together again. But, unfortunately, you cannot return from death. Memories of all the moments they lived and the laughter they shared with Michiru begin to pass through Nana's thoughts. She hugs the lifeless body of the girl who gave her life for her, despite not deserving it, and cries inconsolably, refusing to accept the loss she had just experienced. And that's how the first season of this anime ends. If you've reached this part of the video, let me tell you that you've been one of the few people to make it this far. So comment the word skill in the comments. Remember to subscribe to not miss any videos. With that said, see you in the next video.